love your neighbour.
My business is my own, and I am tending them.
Oh, that's good.
Yes, it is. Thank you for your positive affirmation. I listen for those. For the measure you condemn me is thank you for yourself, sir. And I hate to
Tommy. I don't pull you up there. That's not correct. The way it works, mate, is we're all responsible for our own actions. Can't blame other people.
Put it in a deep.
Funny you should mention that, Rob. Funny you should mention
that. Hold on. If you say
preach your own standards unto your own eardrums. If you want to play the role of a moralist, then that is your business. But my business is grace and virtue, and good people like you are my business, and I am tending them, sir.
Tommy.
No, it's Saint Tommy.
Tommy. Hey.
Yes.
Tommy, would you be able to, or willing to, at some point?
Tommy.
Yeah, Tommy. Would you, at some point?
Saint Tommy.
Yeah, Tommy. Shush.
If you don't want to address me by my title, then why do you bother addressing me at all, my brother?
That's okay, Tommy. Don't worry about it. It's just a name.
Yes, it is okay. You better believe it, and I will not worry about it.
Good. Well, why are you talking? Now listen, Tommy,
with apt respect, sir.
Tom.
My brother, my equal, apt respect. Go ahead.
Yes, Rob's enlightened. Hey, Tommy, what I'd like to offer you at some point is just an opportunity to just talk one-on-one, man-to-man. Would you accept that offer?
If I demonstrate or reveal my masculinity, that is my business.
That wasn't the question, Tommy. Tommy, that wasn't the question. It wasn't a hard question.
Don't accept the offer. It's a trick.
It's not a trick at all. Hold on.
He's trying to manipulate you.
I'm not sure I heard an offer, but I'm willing to reconsider it.
All right, hit you with Tommy. Tommy, and
yeah.
Could I make a topic for us to discuss?
If we were to have a discussion, what would that topic be, my brother?
I'd like to talk to you about human behaviours being based on a duality. So good and evil, I'm saying, is a true dichotomy or a true duality, and there are no other classes, if you like, of human behaviour.
No grey areas?
No grey areas.
I see.
No, that's my position. What is yours? Do you think that there are grey areas?
Well, look, right-wrongism is honest consideration, but I consider it juvenile, shallow, elementary, and not deep to behold what is truly best and truly appropriate and truly timely and truly yummy.
Why, Hunter?
Yeah, it's a dualistic elementary consideration, right-wrongism. Things are good and things are evil and things are gray. Things
okay,
are
well,
gray and
you take that position, right? And I'll take the position that it's just purely black and white, it's just good and evil, and that'll be the basis for our discussion.
Sir, I have no reason to. You don't need any truth. You don't need any truth. You just need to live. If you wanted truth, perhaps I could suggest it. But you just want to live and get by and have a good, productive day. I don't have anything for you, Mr. Beasley, other than a smile or maybe an encouraging word. But it's not truth that you need from me.
Oh no, Tommy, I'm not looking for your truth.
I believe you.
I hold with great conviction, Tommy. I hold with great conviction that duality is a reality in an absolute way,
Well, preach on, my brother. Preach on.
Yes, well, we'll do that, Tommy, but we'll do that privately, and then we'll have a chat, you and me.
But look, if you want to preach at me, if you want to preach at me, Brother Beasley, put it in a DVD, and perhaps I'll put it on my schedule to review.
Tommy, the only way that this will advance is that you and I get into a hangout by ourselves, and we have a debate, and we make it live so that everyone can see it, and then we also just talk about each other.
Well, thank you. I'm not sure what your goals are. Are your goals?
Tommy, I'm trying to enlighten you. Enlighten you.
Thank you. Thank you. I take you. I receive your goals sincerely. Sincerely. And I also believe you may have other goals.
No. That's it.
That's all.
I'm not a very complex person.
I believe you. I believe you're sincere and forthright.
He's trying to set you up, Tommy. I can send it straight away.
Hey, Bulldog.
No.
Mr. May, to what end? What do you say?
Thank you, Tommy. Tommy, you just need to send out. See you later. Bye.
Bye, Mr. Beasley. Bye. What do you think he was trying to set me up at? Just general belittling or subjugation?
Yeah,
like Darwin's
he wants to belittle you. He wants to degrade you. He wants to throw shit at you. Yeah, that's what his goal is. I've seen him do it before. He's already done it to me today. All he done is made videos of people without them being in the room and belittles them and degrades them to what ends? I don't know. I don't even know what his goal is. He came in here ranting and raving like he owns the fucking joint, right? And then, did you notice how he left? It's like, oh no, I want to keep talking, and if anyone interrupts me, I'm going. That's what he does. Now, before he came into the room, I had this video. There we go. I was wondering if, because I'm on a shitty computer at the moment, and I was wondering if you wanted to play this, Sydney. I'll just put it in the chat here.
Sure.
Well, if it's your computer, Johnny, it's a good computer. It might be a good shitty computer.
No. The good one, I give to my son. I take
you mean
the
the
shit
better one? Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
That is cool.
That is a list of uploads.
The son of Johnny May.
No, it's 4 videos. Who's your daddy?
Sorry. Excuse me.
From a year ago, round 2, a year ago, round 3.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Hang on. I'll find it. Hang on, I've got the wrong one. Sorry about that. Hang on.
Hunter, how you doing?
Well, I think Beasley's goals are positive in his own mind, but I think he does want to seduce me into seeing myself as he sees himself.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of projection going on.
If he sees himself as a piece of poop, he's going to want me to see myself as a piece of poop.
Is he coming back? What happened?
That's what I believe.
He's not coming back?
No, he's got when his fucking balls get better, you know?
Oh, dear.
Yeah, he doesn't like confronting people, you know, on a level playing field. He likes control, right?
I accept cash, Benny.
The madman who went to the psych ward wants control. Yeah, he does. He wants to try and like put people in their position. He wants to control everybody, right? But he hates it.
Benny, I'll take all that heaven will allow by the metric ton. And your vision is good. Of course I need salvation. I need all I can get. I need cash. I need a cold beer. I need to be obedient to what? What do you tempt me? What moralism do you tempt me to, Benny? I need to be compliant. No, what? To enlightened people? What enlightened people do you suggest that I need to be obedient to? To people better than me? Well, hell, everyone's better than I am at being themselves, of course. Well, that's nice that they want to help me. I accept cash. Send pics first. And affection. Yes, I accept affection. No material.
Look, see Benny's comment in the size. He says, I'll only come back if Bullfrog goes. Oh, really? Oh, you poor little child. Oh, sweet child of mine. I'll only come back if he goes.
He is precious. He is.
Oh, such childish behaviour.
Indeed, childish behavior.
Well, we all can't be lion tamers, you know. I guess.
Beasley wants to be a fucking world fucking tamer.
So, have any of you guys ever heard of somebody who has ever claimed to be a theistic evolutionist?
I am.
Can you explain? Can you explain to Hunter? Can you explain to me Hunter's view of being a theistic evolutionist? Because I can't wrap my head around it.
I know it's a bit like spinning a fucking head and tail at the same time.
I consider it plausible that a very good something or other, shall I name it, God, that there's this plausible maybe that a God exists plausibly, and that maybe all these scientific theories that constitute evolution, maybe they are reasonable and cogent or coherent. Maybe they are accurate. Maybe. I don't know evolution from my ass, and I don't know if God exists, but I feel that God may exist. And I do hold belief, and I feel that evolution may be how the super being, who's a hell of a lot cooler than some would suggest, if it exists, it might be reasonable that he did it. It did it, or...
If it exists.
Exactly.
If you're going to say if it exists, then you know it doesn't exist.
According to your word, I won't refute your word on that, you know. Could you repeat that? That's an interesting construct there. If I say maybe, then it does not. Does beauty exist? Beauty is a subjective...
No, I want to know. Don't go crawling all over the place. I want to know how evolution and creationism can exist side by side, because to me, it's evolution is on one end and 180 degrees on the other side is creationism. I don't see how you crowbar. I don't see where.
Okay. Do you want to know or do you want to understand?
I want to tell you. Look.
That's a very real inquiry.
I don't want you to preach to me. I want some science, please. I don't ask
inquiries for nothing. I do not ask inquiries for nothing, Sydney. If I ask you a question, it's not just a nifty little something to say. I'm not playing Veckel.
Well, don't give me some God did it answer. That's all I can ask you, please.
Well, okay, I receive your admonition on that, but I did ask you a question. Do you want to know or do you want to understand? It's a very subtle question.
Oh, is it so subtle that I don't know the difference? Please explain.
Okay, I do not know if you know the difference or not, but I
bring it forth, brother.
It's not an acceptable question, so that's cool. I'll retract it. It's okay.
Okay, Hunter.
Yeah. And
I want to introduce St. Tommy to Hunter and Hunter to St. Tommy, because those two have to huddle in order to get some kind of rational response to our brilliance, our genius.
Oh. Okay, cool. Now I know.
You're muted, Hunter.
I didn't quite follow you, but it sounded good.
No, Hunter's muted, that's all. So if he wants to say something,
okay,
good. You're good to go.
Woo. You ain't up for a bunch of woo, are you? Hell no.
Are you just asking how I believe in both?
You hold belief in both scientific methodology and the plausibility of God? Wow, so do I.
Is that all you're asking? Can y'all hear me?
I heard you, sir, but I think it's Sydney's inquiry, not mine.
I know. I'm just asking if y'all can hear me.
I think
Yes,
the inquiry.
yes, we can certainly hear you.
Yeah. Is that all you're asking? Is that how do I believe in evolution and a God at the same time?
No, I'm not saying how you believe in them at the same time. Is how do you crowbar creationism into the fact of evolution, which totally defies, debunks, and doesn't need creationism. Evolution is not. If evolution is if you accept evolution, and evolution, of course, as we spoke about yesterday, is a universal. It's a universal movement, as it were. Everything evolves. Everything has been evolving forever, infinitely. So evolution is a fact. Now you tell me where on the circle of evolution, the circle of infinity, where would you put the dot of creation?
At the very beginning of everything.
No, it's infinite. It's infinite.
That seems.
It's infinite. There's no beginning and there's no end. That's what I'm saying.
How do you know that?
That's what I see.
I know that. How do you? Hold on. Hang on. How do you see that? Where did you get that from?
I see it because the only possible state is the state we're in, the state of material existence.
Are you sure?
Yes.
How do you know that?
Because material it cannot be created or destroyed. It's always there.
Right. Well, so there was no. So the universe did not come into existence 13.7 billion years ago?
Well, the universe started 30.7 million years ago, but it's just a part of an evolutionary process.
Right. So if it's a part of an evolution process, what was before it?
Whatever it was whatever the physical event before the actual start of this phase of existence is really a guess, other than it was a physical cause that we are just happen to be the effect of. That's
right.
That's,
So you
I can deduce that at the most logical and rational level.
Right. So you can't necessarily say that there was materialistic things before the beginning of the universe.
Yes, I can. I can absolutely say that. In fact,
You
that's
say-
exactly what I said. I said, material existence is infinite, which essentially means that there's no beginning, there's no end to material, to energy. And then you tell me that I said exactly the opposite. I think you're being dishonest.
No. Okay. Well, is energy material?
Of course.
What is it made out of? What is a ball? What is 5 pounds?
Linen and nylon, but I don't think they mixed.
It's gluten free.
Yep, gluten free now. Never was
So
before.
So you're saying without a doubt that there was material before the universe began to exist?
Without a doubt,
into...
without a doubt, 100%.
What other scientist do you know says that? Where did you get that from?
Why do I need to know a scientist?
Well, I mean, you need
Do you need to know a theologian to believe in Jesus?
Well, it helps.
Well, do you need to?
Oh, I got a question for our good panelists.
I haven't had an answer to my question yet.
Okay, I'd like to get in line then after you said it.
Okay, Hunter, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, in order to understand science, somebody needs to teach you science. You can't just learn that on your own unless you're got a book in front of you or something. Or
right. If I know basic physics and basic science, if I know just the basics of physics and chemistry, I can think. I can still take my brain and think way ahead and dream any dream I like using the physics that we all know throughout the universe, and I could make logical constructs of what could happen, and
Well, you
take
can
it
predict,
further.
yeah.
I could take it further by saying, okay, now what has happened, let me put that into a logical construct, and I can do that, and I can do that predictably. So
Well,
you know, there you go.
Yeah, well, you can make predictions, yeah, but that doesn't make the predictions true, unless you have scientific evidence of that using the scientific method.
That's exactly what. Yeah, physics. Didn't you hear? Do you think physics is other than the scientific method?
No, I agree.
Do you
with
think
you on that, but what I'm
chemistry is
saying-
anything other than the scientific method?
But the only thing is scientifically, though, we don't know anything before a trillionth of a trillionth of a trillionth of a trillionth of a second before the expansion.
True, but we do know that it's physical.
Well, you don't. Well, okay, what is the singularity? What does that make? What is that? What is that made out of physically?
Well, hydrogen.
How do you know that?
Why do you question that?
Well, because if you're going to give me a scientific conclusion, I need scientific evidence.
Scientific methodology.
Well, does everybody agree that the singularity, the Big Bang, was just hydrogen at that particular moment?
Not me.
Okay, Bulldog, Scaff.
That's my point, though. That's my point.
Hydrogen is.
What if I bring you some evidence? Would that be okay?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking for.
Thank you. Okay, give me a moment.
Okay.
What?
And then again, you're asking people for the popularity vote. But popularity vote doesn't necessarily mean it's true either.
No, I'm not going to popularity. I'm going to people who know what they're talking about. For fuck's sake.
Tag team out on me just for a minute, Sidney. Let me ask the good panelist just a quick question or two, if he will abide me. Real quick. You cool with that?
Of course.
Thank you. Sir, do you hold belief in irresistible grace at times?
Are you asking me?
Yes, sir.
Irresistible grace, like benevolent or omnibenevolent kind of thing?
Well, irresistible grace is a concept about grace that when grace is revealed, that ultimately it's just kind of irresistible, ultimately. Temporarily, one might resist grace, whatever grace is, but ultimately, grace is overwhelming. Have you heard of irresistible grace before? It's a theological subjective concept. You know, it's not.
I haven't been exposed to the way like you're putting it. I mean, if you want to just explain a little bit to me, I can probably answer that question.
No reason for me to really, be more pedantic about it than I already have been, other than just asking, if you held belief in grace, in irresistible grace.
Well, I mean,
it's a personal question. It's none of my business.
You're fine.
Whatever answer you provide, it's my privilege to consider. So I don't ask it from a point of like I'm trying to trick you or I'm trying to convert you. You don't seem to be. I'm not seeing anybody around here that needs any converting, but just asking if you hold belief in grace, irresistible grace currently.
Well, if I'm thinking of the way you're thinking as an irresistible grace, meaning that grace, when given, is irresistible to refuse.
Yes.
I would say that it is irrefusable. Like you can refuse. I'm sorry, you can refuse.
You can resist.
Yeah, you can resist grace.
Can one resist ultimately? In other words, permanently, or is it a temporary resistance? One has the power to say no to grace, but eventually grace overwhelms one, if it does. Is grace?
Are you talking from like a Calvinistic point of view?
Oh no, I wouldn't quote that rascal.
Okay.
I think Calvin plagiarized some guy named Saul O. Tarsus. Saul O. Tarsus. Grace, resistible. Is it ultimately resistible? If grace wants its way, some say grace will have its way. And, it's just not a whole lot one can do about being loved so much. But others say, okay. Anyway, I digress. Back to you, Sidney. Thank you for your.
You asked what a gravitational what a singularity is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here it goes. In the center of a black hole is a gravitational singularity, a one-dimensional point which contains a huge mass in an infinitely small space where density and gravity become infinite and space-time curves infinitely, and where the laws of physics as we know them cease to operate. So
Okay.
what you see here is it's still something. It's not a nothing. It's still a something. Okay.
Right.
That is really what I'm trying to impress upon you, is that it didn't come from nothing. It came from something, and therefore, if the fact that it came from something indicates that it's material.
No, you're putting that in there. Just like what I'm asking for. Like I agree with that, with the singularity by infinitely dense and infinitely small, and everything you just said was correct. But when you say that it is material, that I feel like that's a jump.
Well, energy, material. When I say material, I mean mass, energy, something. You know what I mean? I mean something as opposed to nothing.
Okay, I kind of see what you're saying.
Real quick. Sir, may I ask your name? I'm St. Tommy. Can I ask your name, sir?
Are you asking me?
Yes, sir.
Hunter Bailey.
Hunter, Mr. Hunter Bailey, God bless you and all you love and all that love you in the name of our Christ Jesus, more and more.
Oh my goodness, just Tommy,
Hey,
Tommy, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
I know.
Man.
I'm sorry to lay out a blessing. It can be lewd and it can be untimely, it can be shrill, but it is sincere. And thanks, Sydney, for your hospitality. Good to see you, Benny.
See you, Tommy. Thanks for coming in.
Johnny Might. Yes. See y'all. Thank you.
Well, that was nice. I didn't know like if he was like even Christian or not. I didn't know the guy.
Well, he's kind of Tommy, Saint Tommy, and he I don't know. He's being sincere, is what I can say.
Hey, I'll take it. I mean, I'm a Christian too, so.
There you go.
So that was nice of him. I don't hear that very often.
Okay, I'm trying to get this singularity. Is a gravitational singularity. Okay, there we go. Gravitational singularity, which contains what? A huge and all right, that's probably what it should look like, right? Now we can talk about how a singularity.
Hey, Sid.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, what does a singularity matter, considering it's the beginning of the expansion? It's not the beginning of everything. It's not the beginning of anything. It's just the beginning of the.
That's right. Now
expansion
exactly Xbox. What I'm trying to ascertain and get across is that the singularity isn't something from nothing.
Well, no, I mean, I agree that the singularity is the beginning of an expansion. I'm asking what was before that.
Something else.
Yeah, we have no clue, right? Like scientifically, we have no clue. Philosophically, we can speculate, but.
Well, I mean, yeah, but we have people who are saying something. We have some people saying we have no idea. So which one is it? Is it something or we have no idea?
Something.
Yeah, the people saying nothing, I would say, are just kind of philosophically illiterate.
I'm not even saying nothing. I'm just saying, is it we don't know or is it something?
It's something. It's something. Hey, didn't you understand me? It's something.
Okay, so it's something that we don't know.
It's something material. It's something that has either mass or it has, it has something has a physical attribute. That's what it is.
How do you know that though? That's what I'm trying to figure out. If we don't know
because of the cause, because of the effect. Sorry, the effect is that this is what we're left with. This is the result, and the result can only be a physical effect can only be the result of a physical cause in a logical and rational line of thinking.
Well, are we all saying here that the universe has a cause?
That the universe what?
Has a cause? Are we saying that?
Of course, the universe has a. Of course, the universe has a cause. It's just
Okay,
it's
are we-
just
are we
like
all
just
saying
like
that?
just like tomorrow has a cause. Or today
Well, yeah,
has
no.
today is the effect of yesterday. You know, everything has a yes. It's infinite. The cause and effect is the cause and effect continuum is infinite.
Okay, I just wanted. I mean, I don't know what your belief stance or anything because I don't know if y'all are familiar with Stephen Frey, but he says that radiation decay does not have a cause.
Who?
Steve McRae. I don't know. I'm sure y'all know him.
But Steve McRae is a weirdo.
Yeah, I think you have to listen to a little bit what his presuppositions are when what he says.
Yeah,
I
I'm not
wouldn't
sure. I'm
agree
not
that
sure.
these things.
What Steve McRae says is he can say it, but I don't think it's something that I would necessarily pay any attention to.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
scientifically it doesn't have a cause, but other than that, it's open.
wait, I'm confused. So scientifically, it doesn't have a cause?
Right, there is no known cause, put it that way. It's a limitation of what they know.
Oh, okay. So could that also relate to the universe?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, but what Sydney here is saying is that we do know, and it's material, but that isn't proven scientifically. So how can we say that?
Yeah, no, I would agree with that it can't be proven scientifically either.
No, I never said it can be. Did I say scientifically? I said you lose your logic and you lose some rational thinking, and you find out that what we have is a physical universe, which is an effect of some kind of a cause, and logically and rationally, you can deduce that the cause is a physical cause. It's really not rocket scientist.
Right, that's what we can infer,
So
logically infer.
So
Right, 1, 2. Can you hear me, anybody?
Yes, Simon.
Yeah.
Hi.
Oh, excellent. Oh, how you doing? I've just been listening on the outside. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things which I would point out, if I may, which is that there's a proposed difference between a black hole singularity and the singularity which may have been at the Big Bang.
Okay,
That's the first thing.
Yeah.
So, and so really the shorthand for the Big Bang singularity is the maths doesn't work.
Okay, well, let's
Right, so to say what that singularity is definitely not possible because we have no mathematical description of it.
I understand. Okay, so fill us in.
And then therefore the question, I'll finish up. Therefore the question of what came before something we don't know is a bit of a redundant question. If we're positing that there is no space, then positing that something could be is a bit of a useless question. If we're positing that time is at 0, then positing that something could be causing that is a pretty useless proposition because there's no time. And time is definitely requisite for cause. Mm-hmm. So both questions lead you to a non-answer because we don't have an answer of what the singularity is mathematically.
Okay, so that goes completely with what I was saying. How do we know that before that was a material thing?
We can't. That's what I'm trying to. I agree.
Well,
with
that's
you.
what I say because it follows that a material effect has always been preceded by a material cause in the history of history. We've never seen anything else other than that.
Sure.
So why not go one step, take another step back, and say, okay, there's just another. We're just another effect of a cause. So it makes sense that it's a physical cause.
It makes intuitional sense, but it doesn't make logical sense because
absolutely makes logical sense.
No, it doesn't, because if there's no time, right, then there can't be time before time. And if there can't be any time before time, there can be no cause.
Now you're asserting. Now you're just asserting. How do you know there's no time?
What does it mean to say time before time? Like I would say that I would assert that the universe is necessary, like that the time is necessary.
Okay. Sure, exactly. Which is why the question of what is before time is meaningless. Right?
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
And therefore what is meaningless because that
by definition needs space. And we're also positing that there is no space either. So to have something in no space doesn't make any sense either. So to say there is something to cause something is wrong on both levels.
Exactly. That's
Firstly,
why
there
it's
can't
something.
be- Firstly, there can't be anything to cause, and secondly, there can't be any cause because there's no time.
And we know that there's something because here we are, we're something, therefore something has always been. Always. There's always been something.
No, that doesn't follow either.
It sure does.
I don't think it follows necessarily.
Samos, I'll let you take over.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I was agreeing with what you were saying. That's kind of why I came in, because
Okay.
it's a question of unknowns, really. And
you-
that would be my point, is if we have a point where we don't know, right, what the state of affairs are because the physics breaks down, then to posit something before that is a pretty useless question, because we don't know what the effect is to even know that there could be a cause. Because we just don't know what the singularity is. It's not like an infinitely dense, etc., like a gravitational well, like a
Right.
black
Yeah,
hole.
I would say it's a logically incoherent question to ask.
Yeah,
What-
exactly.
Well, I have okay,
Both ways.
Now here's another question. The reason why I was in disagreement was because I don't think that if for instance the universe does have a cause, it would be materialistic. That's the only thing that I was really arguing with. Now the definition of the universe is all time, space, and matter. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong. Is that correct? The universe is all time, space, and matter.
There's better ways to look at it. Yeah, I wouldn't use the word matter.
So it's all time and space, I guess.
Yeah, I would be loose with that word time in it, because at least from my position, I think time is completely relative. I don't think it's actually a thing.
Well, it's a dimension, so yes, I would say it's an essential part of space. Space-time is one thing, right?
Okay.
But I would also say it's about the energy contained within space-time. I mean, that's the real question we're trying to ask here, rather than defining it as a type of energy, matter. Just define it as energy, and away you go. There's a total quantity of energy which existed in a very small space.
Right.
That's about as big as we can get.
Now, Simon, I never met you before. Are you like? I don't know. I'm just asking. From personal. Have you done research on this, or did you go to school for this, or?
Well, I did it when I was at school.
Okay.
I did it when I was at school a long time ago. Yeah.
I got you. Okay. If I could ask, I'm just curious what you studied. I'm just curious.
Quantum mechanics.
Nice. Okay. So, all right, that's pretty cool. Okay. So with the universe being time and space, all time and space, if the beginning of it started 13.7, 13.8, whatever exactly it is, does it logically conclude or follow that since time and space came to had a beginning at that time, does that mean that before that there was no time and space? Since time and space came into existence 13.8 billion years?
Right, I don't think it necessarily follows. I mean, the laws of physics say it can't be the case that you can get to a zero energy.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that that's not the case, because obviously the accelerating universe implies that that is the case.
Right.
But I think when you look at mathematics, and since that's the way we're describing these things, then infinitesimal, the infinities in the infinitesimals can get very close to zero.
Right.
And that seems to be the problem, which is we can't define the 0 point.
I got you. Well, can we?
So there might be one, but we could never define it. And if we can't ever define it, there's no point in saying that there is such a thing as a 0 point, which is why I would side with Sydney to say it's likely that that it didn't come from nothing. Maybe
Right.
the universe is eternal on that basis, maybe negatively eternal on the other side.
Well, what I was actually getting at was, obviously we know that something cannot come from nothing scientifically, correct?
I don't think that's necessarily follows either. I mean,
Well, from
it's as
absolute.
likely that it's as likely that something could come from nothing as nothing.
Well, if nothing,
Here, philosophically, No, something can never come from nothing, but it may pop into existence in nothing, right? But not because of nothing.
Well, what I mean by nothing, I mean absolute zero of anything.
Right. Right.
So can something?
So imagine you had the removal of everything.
Mhm.
There is nothing logically impossible about something popping into existence, but it did not come from the nothing.
Right,
It was not caused by the nothing.
Right. So that's kind of where I'm going at. Can something come from nothing, which is absolute zero of anything?
Well, I mean, I know physicists that say that that is a logical concept.
Mm-hmm. So is it logical?
And they would argue one of the problems with the Kalam argument is the fact that, yes, it assumes that you can't get something from nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore there must be a cause. And I don't think it necessarily follows that you can't get something from nothing. But again, definitions then come down to the Lawrence Krauss thing of what is nothing.
Right.
Are you defining it as the transcendental laws, such as the Heisenberg uncertainty principle or something? In which case, then nothing would account for why there's something.
Okay, isn't Lawrence's cross nothing though, like electromagnetism? Correct? I don't know exactly what it is. I looked into it a little bit, but not enough to where I got a full understanding.
I think the Krauss thing is just derived, as far as I can make out, he's deriving, saying basically that there's a negative energy for nothing. I think the Krauss thing is just...
And when you mean by negative energy, do you mean like how kind of Richard Dawkins put it in a way how it's like matter put with antimatter put together and you get nothing? Is that what you?
Yeah.
Is that in the kind of sense you're talking about?
Kind of. It's more like there's another dimension, or one of the dimensions that we live in of the 11 has a property which is negative energy.
I thought there was 10 dimensions. That's what I thought. Or was
Like, including time.
Oh, okay.
It's 11.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't even think about that. So, well, that's pretty cool. I'm gonna go tell that to the person I learned that from, and he's again his master's in physics. So.
Oh well, it could have changed, right? But in my day, right?
Yeah.
String theory was predicting 11 dimensions.
I got you. How long ago was that, by the way? I mean, that's, you know,
the 80s,
Oh, wow.
and 90s.
Did you get your was it just in like do you have like a doctorate or
No,
bachelor's?
no, very basic level, just
Okay.
up to 19.
I got you. Well, I don't have any like anything when it comes to the science. I mean, I'm getting my bachelor's in biblical studies. That's all I got. So
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
so
Yeah,
I would say do the maths. I
Honestly,
would quickly
Go ahead.
Xbox. I'd quickly just say do the maths
yeah.
and learn the second order differential equations, and
Yeah.
learn that kind of the calculus side of it, and that'll just take you down the logical side of why we imagine or how we use the language to imagine the very difficult concepts like 11 dimensions and things like that, which you could, of course, nobody can actually imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, intuitively, I see it as that the universe necessarily exists. I don't see it as needing a cause for its existence.
Are you talking about the ontological argument?
Right, yeah.
Right. Well, sorry, it's kind of like going down to the question on why the universe exists.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, why there is something rather than nothing, essentially. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Do what? Go ahead, Simon.
Yeah.
well, I tend to agree with Xbox on this point. We're very close in that. And it seems to me the fact of it being here is enough to make any odds plausible.
Right. I don't see a nothing or something coming from nothing. So since there is something here, I infer that it is essential. So that it necessarily exists. Now,
Yeah.
do I have a good argument for that? No, I don't. I'm trying to build one, but I'm not sure that it's ever possible to build one.
Yeah.
It's hard to go from something exists to something didn't exist and now exists. Okay, in an ontological way.
Wait.
Unless
Okay.
there really is properties to this nothing. I mean, again, that's the inference, is that you can get energy from this nothing.
Right. And then we
And
have the whole
that's-
problem of epistemology, of actually knowing whether these things happened or not, right? Like,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the unreasonableness of mathematics to describe these things. And the only way, literally the only way we know about some virtual particles is through the mathematics. I mean, there is no way we could ever demonstrate them to be real, other than they affect the theories that we have that work.
Right, which could
So
always
it's
be
inferred.
false.
Yeah, and it could never be any other way. There's no way we could get the C at this kind of level to be able to, to be able to find out whether they're there or not. And yet, without them, really some of the more modern theories just don't work at all.
Hey, I just realized we totally got off track of what the original question was, which is how, with Sydney talking about how I believe in theistic evolution.
All right, cool.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, right on.
No, that's cool.
I missed that whole part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the original thing. And next thing you know, we're getting into singularity, universe, and all that stuff. So
Yeah, honestly, I only take evolution because I find it reasonable to accept what the experts say about it.
yeah,
Like,
no,
honestly, like that's the only reason.
yeah, I accept evolution too, which a lot of people don't from a theistic point of view. Like, I mean, I think it's either more than half, or from what I learned, it was either more than half or 40%. I can't remember. That's a big leap, but believes that the Earth is like young and all that, which I thought that was absolutely crazy, given the evidence that we have. So I consider evolution as a fact. So,
Yeah,
and,
of course,
I mean, but from my personal view, I believe that God's a fact as well. But that's a whole different route.
No, I mean, the two go hand in hand, especially in this country. You wouldn't find any, well, it's a very, very small number of people that have a young Earth or even an ID kind of, bent
Yeah.
edges, but all the Christians accept science and evolution and the modern world as it is. And then, of course, hold the belief in the fact of these things are amazing.
Yeah. So.
And that's a cool description of it, which is the same kind of justification that Xbox gave the other way, right? We're kind of saying, look, it's statistically such a likely thing because we are here, and you're saying, well, because we are here and it's statistically unlikely. So I don't think the two things fit hand in hand. They're just rephrasings of the same point, which is we accept reality.
Wait, are you saying that the two don't go hand in hand, being a theist and a believer in evolution?
Well, they go hand in hand. You just have to reword them, right?
Yeah, pretty much. There's to put it into perspective, there's God, and then there's the expansion, and then everything else, and then there you go. That's a theistic what a theistic evolutionist is. God used.
Sure, I mean, there's some dangerous lines there. I mean, with pantheism, right? Spinoza pointed out quite early on that if it wasn't for the moral question, then you may as well be a pantheist.
Right, that would be a way. Like essentially, it comes down to: is the universe created, or does it necessarily exist? If it's created, let's see what we can find out about the creator, and then the moral question might come into to lend credence to a god.
Well,
Right.
personal god.
Yeah, and that's where I think the whole thing comes in of like how. Just personally, the universe is created. That's just personal belief on me, and then everything else follows. And then when it comes to like morals and everything, that's again a whole different route and everything. So
No, I agree with you. I think if I was convinced that the universe was created, I would consider whatever, whether it was personal or not, whatever created it, I would consider a god.
yeah, which is in all, these, even if like you're a pantheist or anything. So.
Yeah, but I think Spinoza's position really points out that pantheism is as good as atheism. There's very little difference between the two, because pantheism doesn't give you any explanation that naturalism doesn't.
Right. Well, pantheism though is the belief of some sort of, I don't know how the best word to put it. I wouldn't even say God. I just say like kind of like a creative or creator in a sense, right?
Yeah.
I mean, okay.
Well, the normal phrase is God is the universe. For
Right.
pantheists.
Oh, okay. Okay. I know what you're talking about.
Right. Panentheism, like everything is essentially God. So
Yeah.
Reality is God. You are part of God. You are. Oh yeah, it's almost what's called metaphysical solipsism. What is in the dream of this God is reality. So everything actually is a part of this God.
Like the Matrix system, pretty much.
Yeah, almost. Except with God first, you know.
Yeah.
Of course.
I got you. Actually, I ran into somebody that was like that, but and then at the same time he was a Christian. So he believed that the universe was God. Like God created the universe, but everything that God created was from Him. So therefore, it is God. And he was a Christian. So I was like, all right. So being a Christian, bow down and worship me. And we can't do that. So I mean, he was like, oh, duh, didn't think about that. So
well, you put the nail on the head there, and for saying what Spinoza said, of course, he was excommunicated from not just one but two churches. One of his followers from both Protestant and he was Jewish, and he was excommunicated from the Jewish. And one of his followers was excommunicated both from the Catholics and the Protestants. Yeah. For saying that,
Yeah.
So.
But then what really got to me though is when like Charles Darwin got excommunicated from the church, like that.
I don't think he did. No, I don't think he joined a church.
Well, no, he was the English church is what like shunned him away, and then that's how like they actually apologized to him or after his death.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they apologized to him for doing that to him. I don't know if it was. It was actually. I remember reading it somewhere.
I think he was pretty lackluster. But basically, he was kind of a troubled man in some respects with his faith, because he was a believer.
Yeah.
Up until his midlife, basically, when enough of his children had died, and especially his favourite child, who was a daughter that was very smart. And when she died, he lost his faith, apparently.
Yeah, but by that time, though, he was already excommunicated, so that kind of just added to the bunch.
Right. Well, I don't think he was, to be honest. I would probably dispute that, because his wife was a very believing soul, and he really didn't like to say anything on religion in fear of offending her, because they had a very solid marriage. They'd known each other since they were kids, and
I didn't know that.
They loved each other very much, and basically he didn't say anything about religion and wouldn't participate in the debate at the time, because he didn't wish to offend his wife. That's why Huxley was the one that defended him.
Yeah, well, that's a good husband.
Yeah, he was, he was a genius. So you'd expect him to be a good husband as well, I guess.
Anyways,
but yeah. There you go.
But Sydney, does that kind of, before what I was saying before, does that make sense of how I am how I'm a theistic evolutionist? If he's still on. Yeah. Oh, okay. I heard something. It's like getting a drink or something.
Well, there is still some conflict for you to try and sort out. There's the Dawkins attitude, which I think is quite true, which is these, and it comes from Hume initially, I guess. But there's this thing where science and religion can't mix, because in order to claim the personal God and have morality, you also therefore have to claim the effects and where this morality comes from. And this morality comes from a book, and in this book it says that there are certain things which contradict science.
Yeah, I don't.
So that's an issue, right?
Well,
go ahead.
I was gonna say I don't necessarily believe that religion and science could they don't have to butt heads. I think there's a lot of things with religion and science that go completely hand in hand together. And even within a book, because like me being a theist evolution and being a Christian, I actually had done major, huge research. I don't know if y'all are familiar with General Han Solo. Do y'all know him?
Well, I've seen some of his posts, yeah.
Well, if you ever talk to him, he will show you word for word how science, and I'm not saying like the Bible's a science book by any means, but what I'm saying is that they definitely knew something that they definitely knew something more back then that we're just finding out now. Within
Right. Yeah, I'll grant you that there's some stuff in the Old Testament which is quite interesting, like when they split up the flock of, is it sheep? And some of them are plain and some of them are striped.
Mm-hmm.
There's that kind of thing which hints at evolution, I guess, in some way.
Yeah, well,
I think a lot of thinking has been convoluted since then. I actually agree with you on what you're saying.
Yeah, so I mean, so I don't think religion, and when I say religion, I mean like all religion as a whole. Not just the Christian faith either. But then again, when you get to but there are some religions out there that totally are crazy and
likewise, there's religions out there as well which are completely science-based, right? I mean,
yeah.
The Dalai Lama said if there's anything in science that contradicts the Vedas, the books of the holy books, then the holy books are wrong.
Right. And actually, yeah. So and
there you go.
Yeah, and then.
Which is the only sensible position if you come from this pantheistic view that the universe is God. If you believe that God created the universe, right, then the only sensible view is what the universe tells you is direct from God.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, if you look at it from like a theistic scientific perspective, God is the author. God is the author of both scripture and nature. And then when you have interpretation, that's where you get theology, and then you get science. One is the spiritual interpretation, or one is of the spiritual realm, one is of the scientific realm. And if
the book of theology and the book of nature, I think I've heard it put.
Yeah, and the point I'm making again is that in order to hold science, right, or evolution to be an evolutionary theistic evolutionist. For me, it says you always say that God's book of nature trumps God's book of scripture.
Yeah, or it can necessarily be the other way around. For instance, when back in the day when Charles Darwin came out with evolution, the church totally went against him. They totally didn't. They didn't like anything he said. The same went with Galileo and Aristotle. But then it goes to show that Aristotle and Galileo was right, and the people who was holding the book were just wrong, and they were just prideful. They didn't want
right. When you have good reason to accept things is when you accept them as true. It's not necessarily good to accept things that are true just because they're true. You should have good reason to accept them, like you're saying. But on the theological side, I guess, what, if you don't mind me asking, what leads you to believe to the theological side, like in a God, rather than being skeptical about it?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I told this before. I actually wasn't atheist before, and how I got to the belief of God was just look at there's a coin and there's two sides to the coin, right? So there is an argument that there is no God, and there's an argument that there is a God. So looking at which one adds up and most plausible conclusion, and that's where I got to a God. I can debate it. I can debate it all day, and we can agree to disagree kind of thing or whatever. But just that's where I came to personally, and then and just to clarify something, I went from being an atheist to realizing that, I was just closed-minded and I didn't look at both sides. So then I started from pretty much scratch. I didn't believe in anything unless it was shown to me as evident and it was logical and plausible. For instance, I really don't know much about evolution scientifically. Actually, how I became a theistic evolutionist was by reading scripture. I'm actually a believer in evolution because of what the Bible says, which I don't think anybody has ever said that before, and that's just funny. That's just funny to me, and I'll tell people that especially younger creationists, and they'll be like, okay, show it to me, and I give them 6-day creation, I give them Book of Job, Proverbs, Psalms, all that stuff. No?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, you got to check it a little because the Old Testament, as I say, does have particular references which could be interpreted as evolutionary bents, if you like, natural selection at least.
Right.
And of course, you'd expect that. You would expect that from people who make a living out of breeding livestock, right?
Yeah.
It's not unexpected, right? So
Yeah.
I think, and also the Muslims picked up on it as well. So in Islam, they also have some references to evolution as well, that come again from the Old Testament. So I don't dispute that it's there at all.
Yeah.
I actually came up with something else that will blow your mind, which is that, obviously it's a faith position, right? You're holding, and it's really nice to hear atheists say, "This is my faith position," right? Because it's so refreshing. Because so many of them don't, right? So many of them go, "No, this is a knowledge claim," and then you're back down some rabbit hole of that you may as well not bother with. So that's the first thing that's really nice to hear. But based on that, when I looked at the reference that people were giving for faith out of the Bible, and I'm sure you know it, but I don't. If you go through and read it very carefully, you can kind of interpret it as the scientific method. It's really difficult to do that, but with a generous reading, okay,
Right.
you can do it. So I would urge you to go back and just have a look at that, because it's something that struck me the other day when I read through the particular definition of faith, which was things hoped for or things unseen or something like this.
Yeah.
But it's, one could be referring to hypothesis and the other could be referring to, induction.
Yeah. Is somebody eating something? Because it's really loud on my end.
Sorry.
That's cool.
Hey Sydney, you're back. How you doing? We've just been filling in.
I went to
Yeah,
make some
yeah.
popcorn for the.
I
We
know
never got into a fight. That's the problem.
Who's that?
Why you got the popcorn?
No, I just thought there's some popcorn. No. It helps to have a dram in front of me, but there isn't any.
So I think I don't know if you heard about how I put theistic evolution together. I don't know if you heard that part or not.
No, I missed it.
I'm sorry. So anyways, but I appreciate that, Simon, and that's thanks for helping me out clarify some things and everything. So pretty smart
That's
guy.
cool.
So
Okay.
I like knowledge. I like to learn. So
Well, I mean, Xbox is quite similar in the respect of he's really open-minded. I mean, one of the more open-minded on this community.
Yeah, thank you. I'm what's called a Huxleyan agnostic. So, I'm not sure that's even actually possible to know if a God. So, if people say they believe in it and they have reasons for it, then I have no reason to doubt that. I just don't personally have reasons for it.
yeah, and that's your choice. So, and that's where I'm not that for instance, I'm called to be an evangelist, and first time somebody says, "Oh, he's an evangelist," they think hellfire, brimstone, preaching. Like those open air evangelists, and I'm like, no, that's your choice, and I respect your choice just as you should respect mine.
Yeah.
So there's so many times.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's so many times when people I'm talking, like for instance, I was Sydney, I think you were there when I told them that how I was a Christian, and I just next thing you know, they're asking how did that happen and everything. And next thing you know, they're saying, "Oh, you're full of crap" and everything. Were you there, Sydney, for that?
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah. So there's people like that. I'm just like, all right, well, I'm clearly not going to get anywhere with this. So and then it's just like.
Well, there's a lot of history on the internet of people making claims, and most Christians that come through these hangouts are presuppositionalists.
Yeah.
But there are maybe, I don't know, a handful of Christians that will come on openly and go, yeah, it's my faith position, so I'm not going to get into the heated debate side of it, of claiming knowledge, etc., etc. which is when it becomes, difficult and problematic. So,
Yeah.
but then, some of the presuppositionalists, I mean, two of them I know, will actually go down to a faith position as well and say that they have this knowledge.
If someone has a personal reason that they can't prove, but isn't necessarily irrational, but they can't prove it to others,
Right.
To hold a faith-based position is something I will never challenge.
Yeah.
Because I have no means to, and I have no reason to.
Yeah, and that goes back to personal experience. It's personal. It's between the person and whatever their experience is.
Yeah,
You can't argue with that. And if there's no evidence on it, well, like I was telling to Sty the other day, it's my personal experience. I'm not here to prove it to you. That's not what it's for. It's for my personal experience. And he couldn't get that.
Yeah. Yeah, but then, the other side of it is that, you need all three, don't you? You need, revelation from the scripture, you need natural revelation, and you need personal revelation.
Yeah.
So, yes, I'll grant all day long somebody's faith because that's personal revelation. So you can say to me, well, I saw the Virgin Mary the other day, and said 5 Hail Marys and was blessed, and that's fine. But then if you say to me, this book is personally inspired by the creator of the universe, right? Then I've got to go back to the same question. Well, that means that the natural revelation is the authority, not the book, right? And if we're going down to putting the book as the last reason why you would be this particular type of theist, right? Then that needs a lot of support. And that's where most of the work is done. Because I can, and Xbox will grant you, I'm sure, I could grant you deism, I can grant you, pantheism, I can grant you many types of this God existing without it absolutely at all infringing upon, what actual Christians are claiming in the world.
Well, if it helps at all, one good thing I like to talk about when it comes to and I don't know, some people's perspective on how good this is was, for me being a Christian, Paul talks about in Galatians on how the message of the gospel is Jesus' resurrection. If that wasn't true, then our preaching is in vain. And so that's where I feel like that's where our faith is laid at, and that's where as a Christian, that's where it should be laid at. We're always pointing to the cross, as a historical standpoint at least,
Well, yeah, both things. It's both things clearly. I would say I'm always careful to define as an atheist myself. I'm careful not to just narrowly define it. So I say belief in the resurrections and the teachings of Jesus. Because that gives the out of, the Gnostics, and so they become Christians, and the Orthodox, and you don't have to necessarily, you can take a very skeptical view on miracles and still be a Christian.